Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Fiber Broadband Association's Five for Breakfast. We're now in our 45th episode of 2025. Before we kick off, I'd like to thank Wesco, the platinum sponsor of Five for Breakfast. Today I'm coming to you from Dubai. So actually it's not 10 a.m. Eastern, but it's, guess what, it's about 7 p.m. here. But we're holding our Fiber Council Global Alliance Global Summit here, and it is no surprise that AI, fiber, and smart cities dominated today's discussions. So it is abundantly clear that fiber will be the critical infrastructure for our AI future. Back home in Washington, it appears that the federal government has now surpassed its previous record for the longest shutdown in U.S. history at 36 days. The House has been out of session for 47 days now, leaving the Senate to continue voting on a resolution that has repeatedly failed. Yesterday's elections highlights the political stakes at play as we are just 1 year out from our midterms. While the government is shut down, the Senate's still working. Last week, Senators Roger Marshall and Peter Welch reintroduced the bipartisan Reconnecting Rural America Act. The Fiber Broadband Association applauds their efforts to expand reliable, high-speed broadband in rural communities, including codifying a 100 meg up and download speeds threshold for the funding projects. So last week, our friends at NTIA Assistant Secretary Ariel Roth delivered remarks at the Hudson Institute outlining the administration's current approach to BEAD oversight and state approvals. The speech covered a wide range of topics, including prohibition on rate regulation, future subsidy restrictions, match expectations, permitting, and oversight and accountability. Well, just to mention a few. So on a more positive note, next week, our next Fiber Connect workshop, a regional workshop, will be in Kansas City, beautiful Kansas City, which is very appropriate with our today's guest. And I hope everybody we see there Tuesday. This will be our biggest and best regional Fiber Connect workshop this year. So we're really excited about that and look forward to seeing everybody in Kansas City. A lot of great stuff going on in Kansas. And so today on Five for Breakfast, our guest is Joseph Lee, the Deputy Director of Broadband Development at Kansas Commerce, to discuss signals of change, how fiber is continuing to transform Kansas. Well, thanks, David. Good morning. I'm Gary Bolton, the President and CEO of the Fiber Broadband Association. Last week on Fiber for Breakfast, our guest was Mike Render of RVA to discuss reviewing dramatic changes to our lives from the internet and fiber. Mike is a great research partner for FBA, and we greatly appreciate all his hard work and keen insights. So if you missed last week's session, you can go to our website and watch the replay or be able to download the white paper. Today on Five for Breakfast, our guest is Joseph Lee, the Deputy Director of Broadband Development at Kansas Commerce, to discuss signals of change, how fiber is continuing to transform Kansas. Joseph is currently the Interim Director of Broadband Development, and prior to this role, he was the Deputy Director of Broadband Development since January 2023. He brings a diverse background in politics, public service, and technology, and he graduated from the University of Kansas with a double major in poli-sci and psychology. He serves as the Chief of Staff for he served as the Chief of Staff for the Kansas House Minority Leader Tom Sawyer before joining the Broadband Development team. Joseph is a Next Gen Under 30 honoree, recognizing his impact on the state of Kansas and the communities he serves. In his leisure time, Joseph enjoys following NCAA men's basketball, coding, and keeping abreast of auto and tech innovations and spending quality moments with his people. Welcome, Joseph. And for our audience, please type your questions to go, and we'll work those into discussion. So with that, I will hand things over to Joseph.
Thank you so much, Gary, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. But again, thank you, Gary, for the introduction. So here in the Kansas Office of Broadband Development, we're really excited about the accomplishments and the future successes we're setting the groundwork on right now. So our office was established in 2020 via executive order through Governor Kelly. And as of today, we are an office of 10 people administrating nearly $500 million worth of federal grants and state grants right now. To try to keep all of the items together here, I will try to talk about the last mile projects, some of our middle mile projects, and then the things that have happened between those. And so, with our current biggest program that is closing, CPF, it's an $83.5 million grant that we just finished construction across the entire state. And that's going to be connecting approximately 25,000 locations across the state with 100 over 100 symmetrical speeds. So we're really excited about delivering that for the state. We were so oversubscribed in that particular program that instead of having just to target the 100 over 20 minimum that we originally established, by being over 107% subscribed, we were able to look at potential awards that specifically targeted the 100 symmetrical speeds. And so we're really excited about that deployment across those nearly 25,000 locations across the state, and really excited that the construction has wrapped up on all CPF projects. So with our CPF project wrapping up, that does bring a close to our largest last mile infrastructure program. But of course, that's not the only thing we're doing. On top of administrating the BEAD program currently, we also have another 6 programs inclusive of BEAD and CPF, which brings up a total of 8. And we are really excited to talk about briefly about the rest of the programs that we have here. What we're really excited about to talk about is the IXP project that we really recently developed as well in partnership with Connected Nation through our Link grant. So the Link grant was $30 million, and the IXP component of the Link grant was approximately $5 million. The IXP's groundbreaking just occurred this year, and we're really excited about that because it's going to allow things like the internet service providers, cloud services, content delivery networks, and internet protocol networks to really exchange all that internet traffic between the different networks. We originally didn't have an IXP in the state of Kansas. This is the first of its kind, and we are able to help implement shorter routes for our internet traffic, which hopefully can lower costs for everyone. Originally, prior to the IXP being deployed in Kansas, we had to have the IXP either be the options for IXP be either in Colorado or 1102 Grand in Kansas City, Missouri. So we're really excited about the first state's IXP program being situated in Wichita, which is really the middle of our state, which is going to be a great opportunity for our ISPs in particular. The Link grant didn't just stop with the IXP. It also helped create a small middle mile network and delivered quite a number of last mile 100 over 20 services with fiber to approximately 2,500 homes and businesses across the state. So we really haven't slowed down or stopped, even with BEAD, with the RPN that switched up our BEAD program results and running the benefit of the bargain round. That has not slowed us down in any way, shape, or form administrating this program. We also have a various number of digital opportunity programs in which we have started focusing on public Wi-Fi, digital literacy training opportunities, as well as equipment distribution. So as part of our CPF grant with Treasury, we also received the DCT grant of approximately $15 million. And thus we created ADOPT grant in Kansas, which stands for Advancing Digital Opportunities to Connect Kansas. With this program, we are connecting Kansans to better public Wi-Fi, community public Wi-Fi, and also providing a venue of equipment distribution across the state, which benefits our schools, our CAIs, etc., with laptops, iPads, etc. So we're really excited about wrapping up the second round of our ADOPT program this year, which should complete that entire $15 million grant for the remainder of the DCT cycle. And on top of that, there was some dollars associated with the link grant that we could use for digital literacy. So we had about $5 million in the link grant that we utilized to create the DOC grant, which is Digital Opportunities to Connect Kansas. And in that DOC grant, we specifically focused on delivering digital literacy efforts across the state, whether it's empowering our digital navigators or assisting with creating more literacy training opportunities across the state. We're really excited about these particular programs because it, again, shows that we're not just trying to stop at last mile. We recognize that once you get the infrastructure to the home, it's also about making sure that that infrastructure is resilient and the subscribers to these networks are able to utilize these resources to better compete in today's digital economy. So we're really excited about the investment that we put into the state on the last mile, on our middle mile, which I didn't get to talk too much about, but I am also mindful of the time here. We had a $42 million grant to expand our middle mile network across the state, creating the Free State Network. And of course, all the opportunity programs we continue to administer. And most recently, we just closed on Friday last week the fifth round of our broadband acceleration grant, which is the fifth round of our last mile infrastructure grant. There was $23 million available, and that portal closed on Friday. We are now reviewing all those results to determine the next round of winners for those last mile connections at a minimum of 120. So Gary, that's pretty much it for my very quick snapshot in Kansas, also having my ear hearing myself. So hopefully that wasn't too bad in presenting Kansas's perspective here.
Oh, Joseph, yeah, it sounded fine in this end. So thank you very much. So given your history in Kansas, I have this burning question. It's been, as a Duke grad, I've been trying to figure this out. Rock, chalk, Jayhawk. What is that? Tell me about that.
Rock, chalk, Jayhawk. That is absolutely the mantra us University of Kansas Jayhawks stand behind. And usually when you hear rock, chalk, Jayhawk, you also say go KU, right? So now if you ask me what a Jayhawk is, I still don't have an answer for that. But absolutely, rock, chalk, Jayhawk.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what rock chalk is.
Oh, that's a fantastic question. I'm going to have to go back to my alumni network and really refresh my memory on that.
All right. Well, it's great that you have awesome basketball in Kansas. All right. Good friend of ours, Joey Winder, was in charge of the Treasury's CFP program, Capital Projects Fund. It looks like you've had tremendous success with that program. Can you maybe talk about, how that program's gone versus your experience with NTI BEAD?
Well, let me just put it this way. When I talk to folks about how Kansas would have run the BEAD program if we were able to add more input into the BEAD program, we would have liked to run it like the CPF program. I think U.S. Treasury really did a good job creating the basis of the guardrails for the states to utilize to go develop its state-specific program requirements and guidelines to deploy that infrastructure across their respective states, because every state is unique, right? And we want to be cognizant of the infrastructure needs that are going to be different across the various states. And it didn't introduce that much, I would say, red tape as the BEAD program has. And we really saw the success of those sort of flexibilities and trusting in the states, which allowed us, like I said earlier, to have an over 700% subscription rate on the state. And we were able to focus on not just the minimum 100/20, but really hammer in the 100 symmetrical speeds, which in a supermajority way funded fiber projects across the entire state, which benefited more than 25 or about 25,000 locations across the entire state. The BEAD program We know that it's changed as of June 6th, and we're looking forward to sharing those official results as soon as we can. But it certainly has taken a longer time to get those money out the door than our CPF program. That's for sure.
Uh, so remind me, I forgot what where you guys came up with how much of your allocation did you guys use, and how much was quote left over for I'll call it non-deployment funds.
Sure.
And of that, what if Commerce is allowed to let you use those non-deployment funds?
Sure.
What would you like to, what are your plans for that money?
We've been looking at a various different number of ways to use any excess funds that are left over from the specific last mile deployment of the BEAD dollars. So while we're not married to any single idea or a combination of idea yet, because it really is going to depend on what sort of guidance comes out, what we would like to do is finish the workforce program that we had proposed in our original volume 2. So we had set aside dollars associated with the BEAD program for a robust workforce program to exist, to help train up, skill up, and ensure a workforce exists here in Kansas to not just help with the BEAD program, but across all the infrastructure projects, because we know those skills are transferable across the infrastructure sphere. Beyond that, we also want to be very mindful of the intent of the IJA legislation, recognizing that these dollars ought to be put towards these infrastructure projects here in Kansas, create jobs, and drive that economic thriving in our communities. So we really wanted to take a look at other projects, perhaps looking at maybe additional IXPs, data centers, other last mile deployment projects, like looking at line extension specifically, or even looking at potentially augmenting our middle mile network that I was speaking about earlier as well. Just some of the ideas that I have heard bouncing around. By no means in our office been settling on any one or combination of those ideas. But for sure, one thing is for sure, we believe that the dollars associated to allocate, to Kansas, the 451.7 million ought to stay in Kansas as IJA deemed necessary, so that we can use that to the benefit of Kansas for these various different ways of deploying these dollars.
Yeah, let's talk about workforce development, because that's if you look at the original way the BEAD program was rolling out, is you would, the beginning of last year we would have had Louisiana roll out, and then Nevada, and then Maine, and we would have had this kind of ramp. And now we, with the shot clock, we have a shotgun start, because all 56, well, most of them, California didn't get theirs in, but for the most part, everybody got their final proposals in, and I'm assuming they're going to get all approved pretty close to the same time. So what does that do to you guys in workforce development if everybody, 56 states and territories, start at once?
I think that's kind of the situation that everyone is trying their hardest to circumvent or to try to mitigate as much as possible, right? We recognize that in the previous, before the RPN was announced and all of these grants were delayed, that the benefit of having states staggered was that certain projects could take longer to actually get out the door, but that also allowed the workforce to finish up in some of its previous other states' projects and move towards the next projects in these other states. Now we're looking at no longer a staggered progress, but rather it looks like a lot of those states could get approved at the exact same time or the near same time. And we are concerned about the immediate lack of workforce and the shortages that will be created here. So we are still talking to our partners here in the state, both here at Kansas Commerce. We enjoy the ability to speak directly to our workforce sister agency here within the department to try to mitigate as much of this as possible and look for ways to ensure that we have the workforce available for the BEAD program, but not just the BEAD program, but across the various infrastructure projects across the state, because we recognize that our neighboring states and beyond are also going to likely have their final proposals approved and begin their construction phases as well rapidly, and that will create a domino effect across the entire country of a shortage that exists here. So being cognizant of that is one of the reasons why we're really adamant in trying to continue to advocate strongly for these non-deployment dollars to be utilized to these efforts as it supports the intent of the IJA legislation, specifically here to ensure that the workforce exists to create these jobs across all these 56 states and territories participating in the BEAD program.
So middle mile, I mean, there's nothing more important than middle mile. And what federal funds were you able to use to fund out your middle mile grants?
Yes, absolutely. So our middle mile grant was awarded a year or two ago. It's all blending in time for me right now, but we were awarded the Enabling Middle Mile grant through the NTIA, and we were actually one of the few states that were awarded these federal dollars from NTIA to build out our middle mile network here in the state of Kansas. The majority of the awards we could tell that NTI had delivered out were granted towards non-state entities. So we were really lucky and proud of the fact that we're one of the few states that do so. So with this $42 million grant, we were able to begin construction on the Free State Middle Mile Network, as we've dubbed it here in Kansas, to stretch from the Kansas City region all the way down to the southwest region of the state to ensure that we create this robust network for that middle mile trunk.
Well, that's great. So as that middle mile is being built out, how has that improved your cost per location and the ability to get more private investment to help to get fiber to rural Kansas?
Ideally, it would make it more attractive for the IXPs to be able to connect to these our middle mile network once it's fully completed, beyond just these grant-funded programs that we're trying to achieve, but also the private investment that they're going to be doing as well. We hope that some of these cost savings that they'll be able to utilize within our middle mile network will be passed down to the consumers as well, as it makes it easier for them to connect to this middle mile network and deliver those last mile connections to the networks that to the communities that they serve.
So let's circle back to your IXP, so Wichita. Tell me the genesis. I mean, that's really important and kind of a huge win for the state. How did that all come together?
It was absolutely an effort in partnership with our stakeholders and industry partners here in the state. There was a recognized need for an internet exchange point to exist in the state, given, as I stated earlier, that we really didn't have a direct way to do so without crossing borders, quite literally, into the other states, whether it would be 1102 Grand in Kansas City, Missouri, or having to go all the way out into Denver, Colorado. And given the distance and the rurality of the state of Kansas, it really did start to make sense to place an IXP into the middle of the state of Kansas. And so through a competitive process, we've elected to work with our partners at Connected Nation to help build out this particular IXP project. And we're looking forward to the completion of the construction of this project to help bring resiliency, stability, efficiency, quality improvements, all at hopefully a lower cost across the region.
So I did see that you do have a number of digital opportunity programs in place. How are you funding those? What federal programs?
Our DOC and ADOPT grants that I mentioned earlier are funded through our U.S. Treasury grants. So our ADOPT program is particularly funded through the CPF DCT programs through U.S. Treasury. And our DOC program is actually SURF funds through the ARPA funds from U.S. Treasury as well. So the SURF funds is part of a larger conglomerate of funds that came down to the states during COVID. And in the early days of COVID, a committee in the state legislature here in Kansas created the SPARK committee. And that Spark committee helped divvy out these dollars, in particular for these funds. We saw these funds be delivered to the now Link and Dock grant in particular. So these continue to be federal Treasury funds for both the Dock and Adopt program. Yeah.
So Joseph, given that amazing job you've done this year, and so 2026, what are the top 3 things that you want to accomplish next year?
I think everyone is waiting patiently for us to wrap up the BEAD program, myself included. And so we're hoping that in 2026, we can move into the construction phase of BEAD. It is long overdue for us to deliver these promises to the constituencies here in Kansas. And so we hope to deliver that in 2026. On top of that, we hope to wrap up all of our Dock and Adopt programs as well. They are scheduled to wrap up next year as well, and hopefully we will have tangible results to share the success stories. We've already seen some of the success stories, the schools that were able to take advantage of some of the laptops and the iPads, and hopefully see some more of those success stories come through next year as well. We still continue to run our Broadband Acceleration Grant. That's something I mentioned earlier in my presentation. We have $85 million in total for the BAG program. And as of today, we have encumbered approximately 25 million of those dollars, with the latest round projected to hopefully encumber another 23 million when all is said and done with that program. So once we head into 2026, we'll still have quite a bit in the Broadband Acceleration Grant, which is state funded, not federal funded, that we can utilize to continue addressing last mile across the entire state and getting those communities connected to a reliable broadband, or at a minimum of 100/20. So with us being in the 5th round of BAG, next 2026 and beyond, we should have another 5 more rounds of BAG, give or take. And so we're really looking forward to continuing our progress on last mile infrastructure through the BAG grant, and hoping to continue to augment the work that BEAD is going to be doing once it moves into the construction phase.
So basically, you guys never sleep there. It's just 24/7 serving Kansas. Joseph, hey, we really appreciate you joining us today. We appreciate everything you and your team are doing to get every home and business connected in Kansas. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. And thank everyone for joining us today. And we look forward to getting back together next Wednesday with Dr. Amanda Weinstein and Shanika Corley Moore from the Center on Rural Innovation to discuss a practitioner's guide to rural digital inclusion. So you're not going to want to miss that. All right. Well, look forward to being in Kansas next week. See, thanks again, Joseph. And we hope everybody has a great rest of their week.